All right, hopefully that was cool to watch. This is obviously from Sea of Thieves. This is the very challenging Skeleton Galleon. Obviously not as challenging in the real game, but thought it was pretty cool. I know I said Bowser was going to be next in a long community post a long time ago, but Bowser's taking way longer than I expected. So for now, I just made this little Skeleton Galleon remake because I'm loving Sea of Thieves. So basically how this works, obviously these command blocks shoot fireballs. Now, they're obviously set to coordinates. It's a summon command. You just summon a Minecraft fireball, coordinates, and the motion command, not only does it have explosion power, which will increase the damage and radius, so it'll actually hurt the skeletons on here. The motion is what actually makes it move in a specific direction. Now, if I actually put this in the negatives, it'd be moving back here because obviously it's in the opposite direction, but since it's 1D, it moves in that direction and hits all the skeletons. And since it's at an explosion radius 4, it'll hit all of them. Now, these bow skeletons don't actually move. This is a custom player head. I'm not too sure who made it, but it'll be in the description. I just got it off of a website, and obviously I have chainmail armor. How I made these guys is by GamerGeeks website. Sorry, I completely forgot there for a second, but GamerGeeks is usually what I use to make all my custom mobs in, these videos. And I made it so they're slow, but they can take knockback damage, but they actually shoot you from here because their mob follow range, which is basically how far they could see a player, is set to like 99999, so they can shoot me even if I'm all the way over here and still see me. And then there's skeletons here. The reason why there's skeletons here is because if you get good enough, you can board, like jump like this when they ram. But, I didn't really do that because not when the boat moves back, you don't actually get taken with it, which is why you may have seen some skeletons fall off. Fortunately, the ones with slowness don't actually fall off because, they don't move and they'll stay in their exact position. So, but how do I actually build this galleon? Now, the galleon, I was originally going to use a YouTube tutorial for this, but I think like the first YouTube tutorial, I built like the bottom, and after that, I kind of just went from scratch. Don't think it looked too bad myself for a little simple galleon build. And then we got the up here, and then there's a little deck, which just like a few chests and stuff. And now if we go up here, this is where all of the magic happens. Now, this isn't 100% automated like the Eggman fight. I did have a person that runs the fight. It was actually Dark, the person who's joining in on my Sea of Thieves series. He helped run this. Now, basically, this right here actually we'll go over the death animation first. So this basically summons TNT. They'll blow it up from a specific radius, and then it'll just straight up despawn the ship. So if you break this, it'd blow it up a little bit. Obviously, skeleton's flying, and it just despawns. Now to summon it in, these are the commands I use. Don't worry, that's just a dialogue command. Summon TNT, and then I filled the radius of it to air, like where the ship was. I just replaced every block with the air. This is how it flies in. This was pretty hard to do. Actually, not really. It's just if you're not used to the command, it's pretty hard to do. This is a replica of it out here. I use the clone command for this. You basically just clone it and you set it to another destination. So basically it clones from that glass block to that glass block, and you just set it to another location and it will clone the build. I probably set it right there, and since I set it to right there, it just clones the build right there and moves it, and it doesn't get rid of that one as well. Now, I took that build that got spawned over there, the clone, and I changed it after that. You can't do the same thing again because it'll make another clone of the build, but keep the one. If you put masked move at the end of it, it'll actually take the build and move it over here instead of just making another clone of it. So that's how I did that little move animation. As you can see, it like I went up a little, I kept cloning from one glass block to the other, and I kept moving it forward, and it resulted in something looking like that. And it actually moves, and then that's just a little title command and stuff that I put. And as the ship is coming in, it just summons a bunch of the skeleton guys which is basically it. Now, this is the actual command pattern. All you have to do is just flick the lever to actually make it work. This basically summons the fireballs it was shooting because, you know, again, it's got cannonballs, and that's basically how I did that cannonball attack. It's the same thing with, you know, firing, but it actually just spawns the fireballs, but it's set to a specific motion, so it hits your ship. Then there's a little curse ball it has in the real game, which is like purple, and it screws you up a lot. So I did a dragon fireball because number one, it was purple, and number two, it's like a huge radius across your ship that you got to be really careful of, and you can't actually be near your cannons either. So it kind of does what's in the game, where it basically just stops your cannons from moving or from firing. So you actually have to go and repair, except you don't actually repair in this. But in this, you actually have to stay back from it because you can't use the cannons because of the radius that the Dragon Ball does. Sorry, I'm having a hard time explaining this. And then there's just a simple summoning. It's the same thing as these over here that summons the skeletons, but just summons one on your ship. And then, actually, speaking of summoning skeletons, after every time the health bar lowers, since this is the health bar right here, I've showed how the health bar works in a few videos, but for anyone who hasn't watched the Dr. Eggman video, basically, I just make a custom health bar and a person is running it. Now, after like every minute to 2 minutes, depends on how many cannonball fires they're hearing or seeing in spectator mode, they lower at HP like every minute. So as you're firing, they lower the HP after a certain amount of times. They hear the fireball go off and hit the ship. And then they just lowers to 0. And after every time it goes down, like that, for example, the skeletons get resummoned onto the ship. You probably saw that a couple times. That's just what that does. Now, this is the ramming attack. Now, the Skeleton Galleon doesn't do a lot, but the Skeleton Galleon does one other thing, and that is it likes to ram into your boat, which is really hard to deal with sometimes. Well, if you're solo, it is, but basically, all I didn't want to make like 5 replicas of it, just, you know, because it'd be, number one, it'd be really hard to TP that one out and then make a replica that's facing this way to ram in, and it wouldn't look too good as well anyway. So what I did is I just cloned the build, as you could see, like cloned it and moved it towards the ship a little bit. And then eventually I cloned it again and moved the entire skeleton ship build in front of the ship and summoned some fireball radius with an explosion radius of like 4 or 5, so it hits the player and then it rams the ship, and that basically looks like this. And it just rams it and then it goes back into its place. Now obviously, again, you could see how the skeletons fell off. That's why after every time the health bar goes down by 25%, they get resummoned, so they get back on there. And then, as you could see, the fireballs get fired, a curse ball will get shot eventually, a skeleton boards your ship. Even though that doesn't really happen in the real game, I still thought it'd be a nice little touch. And that's about it. Now, for anyone wondering what this is basically just the your ship HP, because I made this for friends to play, and you can actually lose this, but I didn't do that for this because you're not really meant to lose this. It's just meant to be like a little showcase of how it would go down. But yeah, if there's multiple people fighting the Galleon, there would be 2 skeletons that board the ship, but since it was by myself, I lowered it to 1. And that's about it. If you guys want tutorials on how to make bosses, let me know, but for now, I'm just recreating them. If there are any other bosses you want to see me recreate, literally from any video game, anyone that's appropriate, like any video game boss that is not like inappropriate, of course, I can do. I've already made Senator Armstrong and Dr. Eggman, and now I just made the Skeleton Galleon. I'm currently working on Bowser right now, which is taking a really long time, so just stick with me. It's gonna be my biggest one yet so far, but hopefully you found this pretty cool. Now, if you want to see another video, you can click right there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.